Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is going to be an exciting session. I would like to thank all the panelists before we start this session. As we know, Hema introduced the session, was talking about, regional industries and how today it's become the Indian film industry. We're trying to break down these barriers. And I would like to start off with Ms. Ratna ji about, she's done her first Gujarati film, Kutch Express, with Mansi. And I think that's amazing. The movie apparently is really good from what I hear. Ma'am, in your opinion, do you think there has been a big change in the entertainment industry, especially post-COVID?
Hello, and I think the fact that we are today a panel of people from different languages, people who are making movies in different languages, and other content, of course. The fact that there is such a panel that exists today is a sign of that change. Once upon a time when we said movies, we spoke about Bollywood. We did not even realize that that is meant to be a sort of insulting term. Bollywood is not a compliment of any kind, but we have accepted it, we've taken it to heart, and we are very proud of it. Fortunately, things have been changing. One of the big changes, of course, is that there are many more educated Indians today than there ever were before. And they are watching all kinds of content. Thanks to the pandemic and the fact that we were all locked up at home, we've all discovered that other programs in languages other than what we were used to have been extremely interesting, sometimes much better than the languages we've been used to. And I'm hoping, and I can see that there is that change, that there are people in the general audience who are willing to see films made in other languages. The fact that you know about a Gujarati film with me and Mansi in it is a big change. Once upon a time, a film made in Gujarat never made it to anyone's notice anywhere in the country. So there is much change happening, and I'm very proud to be part of the situation when there is this change happening. The other reason, of course, is that filmmakers today are infinitely more equipped than they used to be. We've been learning. We learn on the job. We've had no training institutions in this country, or practically none, except for a couple run by the government for a while, and many others run by private chaps who really can't qualify. So we don't have any notion of training people for making movies. We have been very, very poor academically in this area. But thanks to the internet, now people learn on their own. They watch what's happening world over, and they are learning every day. Kids, young kids, 17, 18, 16, pick up a camera and manage to make something. So there is that enormous change of the accessibility to resources, the cheap resources that we need today to produce any kind of content. TikTok takes no money at all. So all these things have fed into the idea that different kinds of content is acceptable to different audiences. Our mistake still, of course, is that we keep imagining that every thing should be acceptable to everyone. Pan-Indian, that's our big attempt. Pan-Indian. Everything cannot be pan-Indian. I mean, you can have an idli dosa in Kashmir. That doesn't make it a Kashmiri dish. It's just something you enjoy, a different taste, right? Similarly in movies, films in different languages are a different flavor. Something that's talking to you about life in a place that you know nothing about. When I watch a film from Manipur, I get blown away because I'm seeing stuff that I didn't know about. The way in which people live there, the way in which they think, the way in which society is changing. Films reflect all that. So therefore, we have a fairly important role to play. And this change is wonderful, and hopefully it shall continue. Unfortunately, it has been very uneven. Gujarat in particular, since I'm speaking on that front, Gujarat in particular has had a very uneven, rough ride. Some of them have been good and acceptable to all, but some of them have been poor quality. We are going to have to bump up quality in all cinema, regional, Hindi, everything. And we are going to have to try harder to get across to a new audience. So those are the big challenges that I see ahead of us. But that films in different languages will survive, I think I'm very hopeful about that.
Mansi, I'd like to bring you in here because, you know, you also work in Gujarati films and we had an interesting quick chat, you know, before we got on stage. So do you think there needs to be any change in the Gujarati ecosystem, for instance, for it to reach out to more people, for it to become more popular?
Yes, I think definitely, because what happens is even today, as of now, as we speak, some of the biggest television shows that get launched, they do their PR activities starting from Gujarat, because Gujarat is like a very big audience, you know, sector for people watching entertainment content. And there are lots of films being made in Gujarat, but it's shocking that the infrastructure and the ecosystem around that industry is still, you know, nascent. I think it's a very nascent industry because it's just literally 10 to 12 years old, so to speak. So the radio stations don't play...
The new Gujarati industry, the Gujarati films have been around since my mother's time.
I am not
and
talking
they've been
about
horrifying. I've seen them all.
I'm talking about the new one. And the radio stations, for example, in Gujarat, they don't play Gujarati songs. They play Hindi music. So yesterday, there is this one radio channel that we we've been in talks with, saying that you should push out more Gujarati content. They called up saying that finally the radio station has committed to playing Gujarati music 24 hours, which is a big deal, but I was like, it should have happened earlier. So, so to speak. So I think what happens is, like, for example, with Kutch Express, of course, because I've worked in, you know, the Hindi industry and have that kind of exposure, we were very clear that we never wanted to make it like a Gujarati film. When you make it like a Gujarati film, you're compromising because you have to make it in a certain budget. Because if you go beyond that budget, then you cannot recover. And if you cannot recover, the investors are not going to put in money in the next project that we make in. So we were very smart about it. We said that we will make it like we were making a Hindi film in terms of, you know, getting the right technicians on board, working on the script the way it should be worked on, you know, doing whatever we can without any compromise. But at the same time, we will, you know, kind of, you know, walk that thin line between not going overboard with the expenditure. So I think because I'm also a producer and we are also kind of figuring out this whole industry, because it's changing so much every 6 months, we are kind of infusing that fresh new blood kind of feel in the industry. And a lot of people told me when we were making Kutch Express, why are you making this film in Gujarati? You should be making it in Hindi. It's going to get more audiences. I said, but the soul of the film is Gujarati. It should be made in Gujarati. And because of that, people might, you know, resonate with it when it comes on an OTT, because it has the soul intact, you know. And yeah, so I think we are all figuring it out, and we are all wanting to make sure that it reaches the relevant people, it reaches everybody, not just Gujaratis, but people all over, so that it can be viewed as a film, so to speak.
So one of the things that's happened is, thanks to the pandemic, I think the Indian audience has discovered a lot of OTT content from across languages. And that's been brilliant for the entertainment industry. But there are still many challenges ahead. Renuka ji, what do you think? You worked extensively in Hindi, Marathi, and of course, you're a producer and director yourself. Do you think there are challenges for the Marathi industry as well?
There are huge challenges for the Marathi industry, though the industry started in Maharashtra by a Maharashtrian. I mean, it's been around forever, and yet we've not really cracked the code of competition with Hindi or Hollywood, you know, which is released all over Maharashtra, dubbed Telugu and Tamil and Kannada films. And all these things are constantly in competition with Marathi films. Another very important part of Maharashtra is Maharashtrian theatre. Now, since we can't compete with the Hindi film industry in terms of budgets because of the viability factor, so in terms of the glamour, the Hindi films will always look 100 times better, you know, in terms of scale and glamour as compared to the Marathi films. And in terms of content, form, the kind of experimentation that is going on, which is what Maharashtrians thrive on, which is food for thought, basically, much more than the glamour part of it. It's the theatre. I mean, we have a very, very vibrant theatre scene, which people find affordable. Theatre is constantly innovating, even in the commercial space. So there is, and of course, OTT. Now you have languages from all over the world kind of, competing. You have them on your phone, you have them on your laptop. So I think as an industry, and I think Swapnil will agree with me, is that we've not been able to crack the viability code. Because if we have to dream any further than the lands that we are in, then we have to crack the viability code within our own state first. And then we can, kind of experiment with audiences all over India. So that is a challenge. There are one-off films that do exceedingly well, and suddenly people start talking of the golden age of Marathi films. So there was a Me Shivaji Raje Bhosle Bolto, which kind of even broke the records of Hindi films running at that time. Or there was a Sairat, which did exceedingly well. But these are exceptions. How do we make those exceptions a rule is a question that I think industry has to come together and find a solution for. And I think we need a paradigm shift in the way we exhibit and distribute films, because there has to be space for experimentation which is not in direct competition with the rates of a commercial Hindi or Telugu or Tamil film, because otherwise our films are never going to cross that barrier. Because if we are constantly faced with that kind of competition of viability, and we